All right, we're on.
Okay.
All right, so I watched the movie yesterday afternoon, and I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah, it was a good movie. Have you seen the TV show Forever?
I have not. I don't think I've heard of it.
Oh, it was just it was on last year, and it got canceled after the first season, but it was with the guy who plays Wilbur
Oh, really?
in it. Yeah, and he has like a similar character.
Oh,
Like he came from a past of like with horrible memories of the slave trade and trying to do good for his
so was it?
past.
I see. So it was similar to this story almost.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I watched it before with my wife, like I mentioned before, and she took this class a year and a half ago. So I do remember some of it from but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a good movie. And it
Yeah.
had quite a few big name actors in it too.
Yeah, they did. It's very well put together,
Yeah.
especially when it was based on a true story.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we dive in?
Sure. Do you want to start?
Yes, I will start the first question. Says what doctrine in Wilbur's heart drove him to advocate, and why is the doctrine of the family so important to have in your heart to be passionate and persistent? I put the doctrine in Wilbur's heart was that men should be free and that they should be treated humanely. It is important to have the doctrine of the family in our hearts so we can continue to on in the flight even when we lose battles. It's something that I came up with.
Yeah, I also thought that to not give up and like always continuously fighting for the family is important. Um, and so in the very beginning, he said that he found God or God found him,
Yeah,
and he'd have these horrible flashbacks of things he had seen or things he was imagining um, that were making him feel like this was his calling to do this. Um, and throughout the whole movie, I thought it showed how he was just a good person helping. He had a lot. He was wealthy and he was helping less fortunate people.
yeah,
And I just think he was just like a good person in general. And I thought he wanted to be a good citizen while he was fighting for this because one of his friends said like a revolution is coming, and he said something about like don't ever talk to me about a revolution. He didn't,
right.
he didn't
I think he
want
was
to
kind of
do
afraid of
anything like
that.
that.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Number two. How did Wilbur employ a theoretical approach to become a more effective advocate? It's referring to Bronner Brenner. I can pronounce that right.
Yeah.
And then the next part, identify at least one thing in each system and be specific. You want to answer that one first?
Sure. I don't know if I got the systems right.
I don't know if I did either.
Yes, I couldn't find I remember seeing some diagram or something explaining the systems, and I couldn't find it, so I relied on a Google one that wasn't as detailed. Um, so I think he used all of these steps to like slowly build up his support and fellow advocates so that they would be a stronger group of people. So at the micro level, he used his relationship with God and that pastor, priest person, and he had a few dinners in the very beginning with friends and acquaintances to research and discuss findings. And then the meso, I put that he did networking to find like-minded individuals to support him and work with him. And I didn't put anything for the exo system, but for the macro system, I put his religious beliefs were the basis that he wanted to use to change the chrono system.
Mm-hmm.
And that did change because people were towards the end, people were starting to come to him because they'd heard about him from other people. So he was making a change gradually because people were finding him and joining his cause.
That's good.
So I don't know if any of those were actually the right systems that I put them with.
Right. Yeah. Sound good to me. What I put, he utilized those from different systems to advocate, obviously, and he used a man who was from Africa who had been a slave, which would be part of the microsystem of peers as well as others in the community. And as far as the macrosystems, he used that of political ideology and religion to guide him and to help him in his fight. And in the mesosystems, he used the conferences with different groups. And he used the parliamentary members, which would be using in an exosystem. That's what I kind of thought.
Okay, that sounds right.
So, number 3. How did Wilbur and his fellow advocates do and share their research? What evidence did they provide to persuade those opposing or on the fence?
I can go. So he spoke at the Parliament or the House of Commons, fighting for the freedom. Then he used networking, and he got whoever those rich people were to tour a slave ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like he tricked them into it, kind of.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, and showed them the horrible conditions. So that was one of the practical demonstrations. And then they traveled to talk to former slaves. They went to parts of Africa to tour the slave ship posts or ports, and they talked to former doctors, slave ship workers. And his one friend who was a slave wrote a book, and they traveled to find more supporters. And so they collected all of that evidence, and then they brought it to the Parliament with over, I think, 319,000 signatures.
Yeah.
Petition.
And then they added one more at that session.
Yeah.
Very good. I also put down, they also used a petition with 390 some odd thousand signatures. They spent time sharing this information with others, and they used the leaflets and literature to inform people, and they used methods like taking their tour group to a slave ship. Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, and how he said that like one of them left Africa with over 600, but it only arrived, or they only sold 200 because
Mhm.
the other 400 had died.
Right. All right. Moving right along. Number 4, how does the film portray the importance of working together as a group? And what has family advocacy group work taught you? It showed that for me, it showed that working with one another allowed them to be more effective, and they plan and execute together. And the same can be effective in family advocacy. Advocacy, I can't pronounce that very well.
Me either. Yeah, I put the strength in numbers. The more people who agree with you, the better your odds are of, and the better your defense is in convincing other people. And they found a few people who wanted to make the world a better place using politics and religion. And that's how it all started. And then it just expanded on that. And like at the end, when they came up with that law or whatever with the different flags, so that they could stop and inspect the French and British ships, like that idea was from a group effort that like one of those guys wouldn't have thought of that on their own. It was someone within their group who came up with that idea.
Excellent. I didn't thought of that. That's good. Okay, number 5. What parallels do you see between Wilbur and Captain Moroni in Alma 46? What is a Christian and professional family advocate? And how did Wilbur exemplify that? And how can you be effective and Christ-like against such loud and often degrading voices? I liked how Wilbur stood and spoke in the Parliament, even when he was not being heard.
Yeah.
He continued with his message, and he didn't deviate from it, just as Captain Moroni was also committed to his message of the family. I mean, I kind of like that he continued to speak. You know, people were shouting at him and being disrespectful to him, but he kept on going, even though they refused to hear what he had to say. But he kept on going.
Yeah. So I put down that he didn't give up, and he enlisted others in his cause to help all of God's children, to protect people, and to keep families together, and to promote equal opportunities. And like Captain Moroni risked going against powerful people and rulers, fighting against the wealthy, and they traveled to dangerous places. And Wilbur, he lost friends and fellow advocates before the work was done. And this all started from Wilbur's faith. And he exemplified a Christian advocate by just maintaining persistence, and he was noble, and he stayed within the law.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything illegal or crazy, but he still got his message across.
Yes, he did. It was hard for him, but he did succeed at that.
Yeah.
Very good. The 6th one, Marcia Barlow spoke on persuasive speaking and writing. Did Wilbur and others exemplify any of Marcia's ideas? How so? That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I do remember it.
I just remember about the personal narrative, and Wilbur and his slave friend I don't remember how to say his name, but they both had strong feelings and they had seen and experienced things, and they used that story to catch people in the beginning. And they were very like professional, and like they were successful because they got so many others to agree with them, even when everyone thought he was crazy in the beginning.
Right.
And I think he was very persuasive because in the end, even one of his enemies recognized his nobility and virtue.
Oh, perfect. I thought they did. They used a man who had been a slave, like you have mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
to connect the people to someone who had experienced the slave ships. I can't pronounce his name either, but I know who you're referring
Starts
to.
with, it's like Equano or Equan, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, something like that. And they took the people to slave ships to connect people to what was really happening, so you could see what was like, I guess. But
Yeah.
so that's what. So I say, yeah, I think he was using persuasive uh, speaking and
Yeah.
writing for that. So
And his friend who was a slave, it said that I think his book sold like thousands of copies or something, because it showed him signing books and it said it sold like hundreds or thousands.
yeah,
And I think that's what really got the word out to the more educated people who would actually take the time to read it.
yeah. Oh, at the halfway point here, over
Okay.
halfway, over halfway. What role, number 7, what role did the government, policy, and religious freedom play in the fight of the slave trade? Did you see their political system being pro-family? Why or why not? And answer all questions. I did the very best I could.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't know if I answered them all, but I put down the government seemed to have the attitude that it's more important to provide uh, treats for the king than to protect the freedom and religion of the slaves. I saw their system as being an anti-family unless it's benefited the king, and that's all I could. I put. I mean, my favorite quote was the people, but I couldn't remember the rest of it. But that's what I put down.
Yeah, so I put down towards the end, one of his friends said that the king is insane, and I thought that the government, it was kind of like pro rich white family at the cost of everyone else, and like there was religious freedom, but everyone kind of made fun of Wilbur for finding God and thought he should just like he shouldn't risk trying to do anything about it because like what would the king or the parliament people do? Like it wasn't worth it to
Right.
them.
Uh-huh.
And he said that um, people thought that he was secretly trying to take down the government. So sounds like there were conspiracy theorists back then. And they said something a few times. They said something about, oh, these people they reserved tickets for them, like people who are in charge of making important decisions. So it sounded like they were trying to bribe or buy off people for certain voting one way or another. And I thought that the government was very ignorant because they said that there's no evidence that the slaves are opposed to the slave trade.
Oh,
And the slave trade was socially and legally acceptable. So Wilbur had to find enough evidence to convince the Parliament of something that was just like, to me, that's just logic. Why
yeah.
would someone want that life?
Oh, yeah, I agree. A couple of those I didn't think about. Wow. All right, number 8. Do you feel that Wilbur used his time on Earth well? How did you see him showing the elements of consecration that Elder Christopherson spoke of? I do think he used his time well. I mean, very well, I thought. He always helped, was always helping others and concerned not only about people, but also animals.
Oh
And
yeah.
he just loved human life. He loved life. He loved his own life, despite of the disease that he had, which I feel bad for him, but he loved it. So
He never complained about his health. Like he was embarrassed about it and tried to like remain strong even when it looked like he was dying.
right. For a moment there, I thought he was going to.
I thought multiple times I thought he was going to.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I said that he used his time on Earth very well. He devoted his last years to abolishing slavery, even though it was affecting his health. It appeared that it was, at least. And he was sacrificing his health and his time and resources to build a better world for his children. And as a result, he's known for being a noble and peaceful man. And at the very end, it, like the last screen, it said something about him continuing to fight the injustices on education, healthcare, and prison reform. So like he didn't just stop once he got the slave trade abolished. He continued on to other things that were important to him.
Yes. It was important. He had passion for that. So that's why he continued on with that. 3 more. Number 9. Any other profound thoughts or personal insights from the movie that are related to child and family advocacy?
I don't know how much this goes on with child and family advocacy, but just advocacy in general. Like towards the beginning, when he was talking to the Parliament people, they said something about, or it wasn't right at the beginning, but they said something about how they thought it was wrong. After reviewing some things, they agreed that it was wrong, but the economy would suffer too much from outlawing it. So they acknowledged that it's wrong, but it's inconvenient. So they weren't going to do anything about it yet. And I feel like that's how society works today still. If it's hard, we'll figure that out later. But he didn't give up. So I thought that was a good reminder that even when something's hard, to not give up, and we need to make changes so that once people acknowledge that something needs to be changed, that they actually move forward with it and try to do something about it.
Yes.
Because they were more concerned about the economy suffering.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just put a couple of sentences down. I just put down they, like you said, he didn't give up, and he just kept on fighting, even though they weren't winning at first until he finally got it passed at the end, but he just kept on going because he didn't give up. He just had that faith that it would go through. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
How long was it? I remember his wife said something about like 5 years.
It was about 5 years.
5 years.
Yes. Number 10. What was your understanding of the doctrine of the family at the beginning of the semester, and how has it changed? I thought I understood the doctrine of the family, but I have a better understanding of marriage and how it needs to be protected, inside and out.
Yeah, I agree. I thought I'd learned a lot about the doctrine of the family in other classes that I'd taken. But I'm always amazed at how much more I learn. And I feel like, oh, I thought I knew it now, but now I really do. But that just like keeps happening with every class I take. So I have a much better understanding. And now I feel like now that we have this understanding and these resources that we've learned about, that we're more obligated to fight for these things and act on them.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Okay, the last question. Picture your spouse and children, current or future. In this case, would be current. And write down some thoughts about how they will benefit from you taking this class. They will see me advocate more effectively, more than ever since taking this class. And they will learn from me how they can be more effective. Especially with my kids watching what's going on, because they do see and observe what's going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think my family will benefit from me taking this class because I have a much better understanding about our rights, freedoms, and policies that affect the family and what we can do to change things. And so, like before, I would see things like on Facebook or the news that would affect the family, and it would bother me that things were a certain way, and then that was that. But now I understand things, like I understand what's going on a lot better, and I don't have to just be upset that things are that way. I can figure out what I can do to try to change things, and I feel like I have a better understanding of how just a lot of policy and government things work now, which is good for the elections coming up.
Yeah.
Too, and all of these things will help us build a better future for our children and grandchildren and the future generations.
Perfect. I like that.
Thanks.
Well, that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I think we just have to do that peer review thing.
Yeah, evaluation thing. Turn that in.
Yeah.
So these are the last 3 things we got to do. We did this. Let me stop this.